Expressive Impact episode number 2 officially. I always get confused about the number of episodes because of our pilot episode. I consider it our first episode, but do most TV shows do it?
Yeah, it doesn't count as an episode, it's just a pilot, right?
Yeah.
Get the viewers in,
Okay.
show them what we're about. But yeah, moving into our second episode, we're going to be discussing the power of thought. How positive thinking, negative thinking, thinking around school and intelligence, you know, there's a lot to cover in that. So we'll move right into it. I want to talk first about limiting thoughts and limiting thought patterns. So an example that I'll use is when I was 18, 19 years old, just graduating, living in a small town, and I always had this dream and ambition to travel and backpack through Europe. And I would share with people, you know, yeah, I'm going to travel one day and this and that and the other thing. And they'd be like, oh man, you're a poor kid. There's no way you're going to do that. And so I never accepted that. I never allowed those people's opinions to affect my way of thinking. Instead, I thought, well, no, I'll prove you all wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll do it anyways. And so I went to work, got to work, and even when I was at work, I'm thinking, okay, I just finished this shift, and this shift just paid for my train ticket to Spain.
Yeah.
And so I would always constantly be thinking about how my hard work will pay off in the end. And it's really cool sitting here now and traveled 5 countries, 6 countries in Europe. And everyone's just blown away. Well, how did you do that? Because I didn't limit my thinking. I didn't limit myself to what other people told me and then fall down that rabbit hole of constantly doubting yourself and, you know, thinking that you can't.
And finding excuses not to do it too.
Yeah.
I notice that all the time. I mean, we talked about on our last episode how people will find an excuse, oh, well, I'll do this after my nap, I'll look for that job, like after, you know, I do whatever else, right? Watching my TV show, things like that. It involves sacrifice, and I think a lot of people aren't really willing to sacrifice anymore. We want that instant gratification, right? And if we don't think it's in our reach, we kind of give up on it. I mean, personally, if I wasn't, in my opinion, I guess limited as I am, like because of my health, you know what I mean? I would be on a construction site all the time. I would be making that money. Or I would have been in the military. I wanted to join the army when I was 14, but they wouldn't let me because I was diabetic, right? Mm-hmm. And by the way, it's not an act of discrimination. I understand completely why. I don't want to put anyone else at risk because of my health, right? It makes sense because, you know, people get pretty fiery about that when I tell them, but that's not fair.
Well, and it's good to share with people because
yeah.
If I didn't know about your condition and all of a sudden you're having a seizure on
and I'm holding a machine gun or something,
and I don't know what's going on, it's good to share that information.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. So. Yeah, but yeah, no, we gotta stop being lazy. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have to stop being lazy. It's crazy. I mean, how many people do you know personally that live off the government and are okay with it, right? That don't want to work anymore because they're so used to what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know a handful of people, man. And they don't have to be. They don't have to be where they are, and that's bad. Like in my opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? People with legitimate reasoning and things like that, health reasons, whatever, things like that, I get it, right? But people abuse the system. It's the way it goes, right? And they settle for what they can get for free, right? They don't want to work hard for what they can get in an enormous amount. You know what I mean? Just for example, like, because we do this for fun, but I see this, right, going somewhere eventually, and I'm working hard at it to get there, and so are you, right? And I want to tell you guys a little story about what happened to me. I believe it was 2 days ago or yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I was out trying to negotiate with a sponsor for the show, and it was great. You know, I was ready for it. It was a good day so far, whatever, right? But because of my health, for example, right, I ran into a serious problem. I only had a limited amount of these test strips that tell me what my sugar levels are at while I'm doing whatever, right? And I didn't have a lot of food on me, which is very important if you are diabetic, right? and my phone isn't working. You know, I was basically, I felt like I was stuck in the Sahara Desert, you know what I mean, alone. I know, like, there's people around me, but plus I'm an anxious guy, right? So I was like worried about it. And anyways, I just want to say that I met a guy yesterday named Brian. Fantastic dude. Absolutely awesome guy. Totally helped me out. And Brian, I want to thank you again for what you did. And I told you I would mention you in the show, and you are an amazing guy. This guy, total stranger, gives me a ride home, tries to give me money to get on the bus and help me out, right? And I'm asking people if I can use their phone, things like that. It was hard, man, and it was scary. It really, really was scary. And this guy, out of the kindness of his heart, allowed me in his car with his daughter in the car and drove me to my house. It was only about 5 blocks away, but the fact that he did that anyways, that just, it's unreal. And
restores your faith in
humanity. It does. It totally does. It restores your faith in humanity. It shows you that good people are out there. And I don't want to run with this for too long, but Brian, I want you, when this is up, I want you to put your name in the comment section, throw your YouTube channel in it. I can't remember the name of the channel right now. Altered Agenda, that's it.
Right.
He's on YouTube. Altered Agenda, and I just wanted to help him out a little bit by throwing that out there.
Oh, definitely, guys. Check out the page.
Yeah.
We'll put a link in the comment side so that we can patch that all in there.
And that guy, you know, potentially saved my life, right? And I had to let that out there. So, you know what? There's good people out there, guys. There really are. And don't be afraid to ask if you need help, ultimately. You know what I mean?
Well, and okay, so trying to tie that back in with the topic of thoughts and how we think, you know, that will help you moving forward in another experience because it was a positive thing. Yeah. So you can now have a positive aspect on, you know, asking a stranger for help or reaching out to someone as opposed to keeping that negative mindset. Well, everyone's out to get me, everyone's, you know.
Or I'm stuck and no one's going to help me. Yeah. I have to figure this out myself, right? Which a lot of people think nowadays, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? Go to your school counselor if you're having a problem. Go talk to a friend. Go talk to your parents, right? Go talk to your siblings. There's someone to talk to. There is. And if you take that step, right, versus staying in that thought where you're stuck, you can't do anything, you're only going to hurt yourself. And yesterday was a huge reminder of that for me, personally. So I'm happy to bring in my actual personal life and use that as an example to our viewers and to anybody else that may be interested in the story.
Another one, too, I'll go into a little bit of an example. Talking about thoughts and things like that. I feel a lot of people suffer from anxiety. They have these social anxieties or nervous anxiety or just anxiety about anything in general.
Yeah.
Growing up, when I was coming on to about 23 years old, I started developing anxiety, and it got worse and worse, and it was very, very severe to the point where I wouldn't go out. I was just socially awkward. I just felt nervous around people, and I'm going like, I never struggled with this before, and all of a sudden I'm thinking all these thoughts, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, all negative, and people are against me, and this, that, and everything else. And then I stepped back, and I said, I kind of stepped away from myself and viewed myself from another perspective. And I'm thinking like, well, these things don't make any sense. My friends aren't against me, the people aren't against me, why am I having these nervous, anxious, negative thoughts toward it? And so what I did is, when I started having these anxiety attacks, I would immediately stop, and I would go and I would think through what I'm thinking. And I'd remind myself how illogical those thoughts were. And over about a 1-year period, it would take me initially maybe 45 minutes to get my anxiety under control. And then I started patterning my thinking and changing the way that I was thinking. And it went from 45 minutes to a half hour. And then a half hour to 15 minutes. 15 minutes to 5 minutes. And now, whenever I get anxiety, it's just like this passing by thing. And I can just push it aside because I know that it's an illogical thought process.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. We live in Canada. I mean, we have to, I kind of lost my train of thought there, but we have to understand that we're in control of our thoughts. That's something that we are in control of.
That's true.
Right? Yeah. That's one thing that we can change. So if you're, another example is perspective. When I had the chance to go to a third world country like Cambodia, it really changed the way that I thought about everything. I was more appreciative about work and everything. When I came back and I was at work and I'm like, man, is my life good? Like, because of what I've experienced, and it changed my thought process, and I'm more grateful and appreciative of where I'm from and what opportunities lay before me. Whereas if you don't go out and you're not experiencing things and you're not, you know, trying to see what else is out there, then you're going to limit what you know.
Oh, yeah.
What you think.
Yeah,
right?
definitely. You repeat a pattern, and sure enough, that's what you become. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%.
Even at work. If you got a guy that you're working with and he's really positive and he's always chipper and he's like, yeah, we're going to the mountains and we're doing this, and that then breeds into the culture with you at work, and then you tend to be happier. Right. Whereas if you work with a negative person that's constantly complaining,
you're not going to want
this job sucks, and you're going to start hating your job.
It's true.
And then you feed off each other's thoughts. And that's what's really powerful about our thoughts, is that it directly affects everything. Whether
it almost dictates your life in a scary way.
Very much so. Yeah. If you have a negative thinking and you're constantly negative thinking, you won't take that chance. Yeah. If you thought about this show and you're like, oh yeah, well, that's probably not going to do anything, whatever, or we failed the first time and we had some errors and editing issues. Oh yeah, see? Exactly. And then you proved to yourself.
See, man, it's not worth your time. Why are you even doing this?
And then you convinced yourself.
Right, exactly. Or if somebody else even says it, right? Which, you know, the first thing people love to do is when you tell them an idea you have, they like to put it down, right? Do you notice that? Yeah. Like, if you have an idea for anything, wanting to do something, like, people are just like, oh, well, okay.
Not all people.
Not all people.
Right. There are a lot of negative people, but I don't like people like that in my life, because I'm an inspired individual, and I love inspiring others, and I also like hanging out with inspired individuals. People who want to, you know, put you down or you know, always make negative comments towards what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve, you don't need them in your life.
No, you don't.
Just axe them up. And then you have more positive thinking and people in your life, and you'll see a change in your life.
Yeah, you know, like, I've dropped friends decently recently as well because of that, honestly. Just like, they just have something smart ass to say, or they're just, you know, they make those snide remarks, and it's like, really, dude, like, what are you doing, right? Like, why do I need you here? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just whatever. And you know, a lot of the time that, like, when you have an idea in your head to do something like that, to drop these people out of your life, it's probably for a reason, and you should really think about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like, it's brutal, you know, and a lot of people are like that. Not everybody, and I'm not saying avoid people at all costs. Like, that's definitely
not go out and meet people, but have your boundaries, and then if they aren't those individuals that are helping you, you know, then get rid of them. You don't need them.
No.
Right?
No, it's true.
Yeah. And going into a little bit of the science too, around our thoughts and our minds. You know, it's interesting because we really don't know a lot about the neurosciences. I mean, we're just coming on the cusp of some groundbreaking understandings about how it works in the science community, thanks to MRI technology and things like that. But if you've ever taken a biology class, you'll learn that we have these things called neurokinetic pathways. Okay, and when you're growing up and you learn 2 + 2, and you learn that you think it's 3.
7, right?
Yeah, 7, right?
No, it is 7.
Yeah. and so you create this pathway in your brain. They're malleable. You can change them. You could be wrong about something your entire life. Like, I used to think that a babushka was like a bonnet that a Ukrainian woman wore. And I thought that. So I constantly made that neurokinetic pathway.
What's
I think it's like a butt. Like a woman's, you know, butt or something. I think. Okay. I still might even be wrong, right? But it's cool how you can change that and then actually make a connection stronger. Yeah. I found that going back to school, I didn't use my brain for 10 years, really. I mean, a little bit in the construction job, yeah, you use your brain, but you're not learning anything else new. You're not engaging that muscle. And your mind is a muscle. It's just like working out at the gym, and the more you work it out, you know, at the beginning of school, I struggled like it's unbearable. And as I started to continue on the journey of my education, and I've got a long way to go still, you get better at it. You get better at learning. You get better at, you know, using your mind, controlling your thoughts, and
comes down to practice makes perfect. Another cliche statement, but with a lot of truth behind it, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is if you're learning an instrument or you're learning, you know, to play a chord, every time you do that, you're making a stronger neurokinetic pathway basically a path for your thought to travel from here to there of understanding, right? And so tying that all together is that we are in control of our thoughts, and that's something powerful, and that's why thoughts are powerful. That's the statement, the power of thought, right? Mm-hmm. We are in control of it. That's something that you can control. The things in life, sometimes your car breaks down, you get a flat, you can't control it.
Right.
But you can control
how you think about it,
yeah, how you react to the situation. Do you get upset and blow your top, or do you go, okay, what can I do to do this?
How can I fix this? Do I have the tools? Do I have a cell phone? Is there a shop down the road? Yada, 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 yada. I'll open up the options for sure. It's easy to slip back into the emotional side of things too, though, right? And it's funny because a lot of the times when we do that, we don't even know we do it. Like if we're trying to follow a certain way of thinking, right? Like if you're sort of in a sense trying to change your mind and you do start doing it, you'll notice that you may get like pissed off about something or really upset about something, and you'll be stuck in that mindset, and you won't even think about the fact that you actually went off course. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Until like way later. It's crazy. Well, I've done that. I've tried like my own sort of mental training, and like an experience basically happened to me, and then like about a month later I was like, well, what happened? This isn't who I am, mm-hmm. right? And then I got back to working to who I wanted to be, and then it worked.
Well, and that's it. That's emotional maturity or emotional intelligence. Is unfortunately you are in control of your emotions. You can choose to get mad, and you can choose not to get mad. And I think it's very important that we strengthen those skills, because if you're in a situation and you have a very weak emotional intelligence, you'll fly off the handle and make things worse for you. Oh, yeah, and then you have more problems. So that's still tied to your thought. How do you approach it? How do you view the situations? And how do you work with it ultimately, essentially? Yeah, mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Following chains of thoughts ultimately determine your actions, and your actions speak to your character. So that's something to think about for you guys out there who are listening to this. You know, maybe if you wanted to become somebody like, for example, if you like reading, you don't have the time to do it, start doing it once a week. Just pick up a book, and then people will know you, and you'll know yourself as a reader. You know what I'm saying? Simple things like that, it can make a change. Absolutely. I mean, I never went to business school. I never learned anything about that. And when I was running my old promo company, I had contracts with clubs, right? Like we had agreements. We made things happen. In the business world, that's a success, right? So in a big sense, I do consider myself a businessman. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because I choose to believe that, because of the things I've chosen to do. And it backs that up. So, again, something to think about. Also, in a big sense, I kind of choose to believe I'm somewhat of a philosopher, and I think that's where me and you get along, because I kind of think you think that about yourself too. Like I like to delve a little deeper into what's the scenario, what is the thinking, what is the philosophies behind it.
Exactly.
I enjoy philosophy.
Yeah, I know, I do too. I love it, and I love getting engaged with people who don't really get the chance to do it, right? When I was at, there was a vaporizer shop I was picking, I was trying to negotiate. Anyway, so I was there and I was talking to one of the coworkers there, and we got into this deep conversation. His name's Matt, super nice guy, and we got into this deep conversation about like 45 minutes long, and we just went from one thing to another, but it was all smiles, it was great, and it was intense because it was real. Like we were both so into it. It was such an awesome feeling.
Well, and again, that's back to the last episode, networking and communications, and yeah. You'll all these things kind of tie together in making a successful self, because that's what I'm here to do.
Or a happy
my life, or as a happy self. That's what I feel. My main purpose in life is to, increase my intelligence, increase my happiness, increase my success in life. And there's so many tools that are around us in everyday life that are there for the taking.
And then we get distracted. We get distracted with phones. And
learn something. Start thinking about your emotional intelligence or your thought patterns and processes.
Right.
I really, really can't stress enough to everyone out there, if there's something that you are thinking about that you want to try, but then you have self-doubt or fear that you'll fail, I'm telling you, just do it.
Yeah.
Stop telling yourself that you can't. Because the more that you do that, you're going to be making stronger and stronger neurokinetic pathways to the idea that you can't. And it's going to take you that much more work, that much more going to the gym to change your view about how things are. And I just hope that all you guys can really pursue your dreams, do that thing, you know. So we have about 5 minutes left on the show here, just because of the file size. And I think it's better to keep these things a little bit shorter for people, you know, listening. It's a little easier maybe to listen to a show for half hour.
Stay in tune, yeah. Thanks for everybody too, by the way, for following us so far on this journey. And we finally had video, we made it happen, and it's going to get better from here. You know, we'll work with things, try to get things a little better, higher quality, that kind of thing, yada, yada, yada. Yeah.
Like the page, subscribe, share. Again, I know you guys, it's basically a thing that everyone does now on their shows. Like, share, you know, post to your page, do it, whatever. We're working with another individual. He's a friend of mine. He's currently in med school in the Cayman Islands, and he had reached out to me, and he thought what we were doing on the podcast was great. So we plan to have a special guest on either next episode or the following one, depending on our scheduling. I mean, he's different time zone. He's in a different country altogether. I mean, he's studying to be a doctor, so he's a busy individual. But I think that he can bring a lot of substance and really good content matter to the show. Again, also too, I want to reach out to you guys. If there's anyone you know, or you yourself, you want to be on the show, you want to have a topic, you want to get engaged, or you know, like we were saying in the very pilot, if you're an artist, we can showcase some of your work, have you on the show, or if you're a musician, even have you on as a special guest, and go from there, because we want to network with people and make sure that you guys always leave comments, what we can do better, what we're doing well, what we're not doing well.
Give us your ideas too, and we'll put it on the show that you were the one that provided this idea. So
because how do we get better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's constructive criticism, and without it, then we would never get any better.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, my name is Adam Froggett.
I'm Will Pike. Thanks for tuning in to Expressive Impact, guys.
Take it easy.